So I'm on my way to see the spotted salamander migration in Naugatuck State Forest. Obviously there's spring peepers everywhere. You hear them all the time. That's what that deafening peeping sound is. But I spotted two of them that were calling to each other here. You don't actually see these spring peepers very often, you just hear them. So I thought it would be cool. Hey buddy. They're the smallest frog in Connecticut by a lot. Here, let's see if you can see how small they are. These are adults calling to each other. There's millions of them out tonight. Millions upon millions of them. Right after that other video, I almost stepped on this wood frog. He was just there. So I've hiked a ways into Naugatuck State Forest, heading towards a vernal pool in the middle of the night during a rainstorm for a very specific reason, and that's to see the salamander migration. A lot of amphibians are breeding tonight. You can hear the spring peepers in the distance. It's a small arboreal or semi-arboreal frog. So wood frogs are also out breeding tonight. But wood frogs use the vernal pools, like the one we're heading to breed. So we'll probably hear them as we get close to the vernal pool. And they sound like more like a duck, quacking rapidly. But they're not the only obligate vernal pool species. It means a species that only uses a vernal pool to breed. There's actually a large lake to my left, but you won't find any wood frogs or salamanders in that lake or in any pond or river. They will only breed in vernal pools because there are no fish. A vernal pool is a small body of water that can even dry out during certain times of year, and it's typically too small to support fish, so their eggs won't get eaten, and they won't get eaten when they go to there to breed. Wood frogs normally spend the year out in the forest, in the mixed deciduous forest, and same with spotted salamanders and other mole salamanders. They're called mole, M-O-L-E, salamanders because they live underground. They'll spend most of their year 1 to 2 feet underground. Although I will sometimes find them during heavy rains under logs, but pretty rarely. Now there are actually 4 species of mole salamander in Connecticut, and only the spotted salamander is somewhat common. Now they're common, but the only reliable way to find them is to come out on this night. The first heavy rain after temperatures have gotten to a certain point, like in late March, which I'm pretty sure is tonight. So anywhere within like 500 feet of here, and to my right, going off for 1,000 feet up into the mountain, is just nothing but mixed deciduous forest. So every year on this night, they come up out of the ground, they migrate to this vernal pool, and then they'll breed and lay their eggs. Same as the wood frogs. Sometimes by the hundreds. We're just about close enough now to the vernal pool that I can hear the wood frogs calling. Again, the wood frog call sounds like ducks quacking. They may stop calling when I get too close, if I disturb them. Depends on if the rain is loud enough prevent them from being bothered by me. So there are dozens of wood frogs. Many of them stop calling. Spotted salamander on the ground. Awesome. Perfect. It's absolutely awesome. The largest, the Latin name is Ambystoma maculatum. They are the largest salamander in Connecticut. They can grow up to I believe about 7 inches long. To give you an idea of his size. Put it to my hand. You can't see his tail, but still very cool. They're very sensitive to habitat disruption. That's why there's not as many as there used to be. Talk to boomers from like back in the 50s. People used to see these on their property, trying to breed in their pools in the thousands during the migration. It doesn't take much to bother them. Build a road in between their vernal pool and the forest where they live. They're gone. They're locally extinct. Put down fertilizers or insecticides or herbicides. Amphibians absorb things through their skin. They can breathe through their skin. So pretty much any chemical that would be fine on our skin will be absorbed by them into their bloodstream and potentially kill them. Very cool. They eat mostly insects and other invertebrates they find underground. Hey, buddy. Very cool. Oh, and they can live over 30 years. 32 years is the oldest I've heard of. So cool. I wasn't expecting to find one out in the ground. Usually they're already in the water when I get here. So cool. That means there's going to be others around. As far as wood frogs, let's see what we can find. Now, here's the exciting part about tonight. Although I don't have good lighting, I borrowed hip waders from the local nature center. Oh man, the wood frogs are... I hate disturbing them. There's some breeding out there. Oh, so far so good. They are, what's the word I'm looking for when they're connected like this? Oh man, I'm slipping like... The vernal pool's like 6 inches deep. But I'm sinking like an extra 6 inches into the mud. Amplexus, I think is the word. But yeah, they're breeding. There's like 100 of them in here, but a lot of them ran away when I got here. As you can see, I'm into my ankle. The water is like 3 inches deep, so it's mostly mud. I have to walk carefully so I don't hurt anything. So far so good, no leaks. Cool little water bugs. A lot of animals that are... Oh, tadpoles already. Huh. There are some frogs that lay their eggs and tadpoles survive under the ice, but still, that's pretty crazy. What other cool stuff can we find? There's an invertebrate, there's a crustacean called the fairy shrimp, which only lives in vernal pools. Oh God, I almost fell. I am deep in mud. A lot of other cool water insects. Don't see any fairy shrimp though. A lot of wood frogs. Ooh, spotted salamander. 2, 3 spotted salamanders. We'll walk slowly towards them. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's where the action seems to be happening. The mud is getting way deeper. Sorry, frogs. Alright, so I'm going to turn this off because I brought a waterproof camera with me. And I'm going to try to get the spotted salamanders with that. I'm still using my phone, but because it's been very hard to get to where the other spotted salamanders are, so I thought I'd stop for a second. These wood frogs are locked in the stoma. There's more over there like that, wood frogs. Maybe. Where did that spotted go? A couple spotteds over there. Oh boy. It's like 100 of them in this vernal pool. So, there's 1, 2, 3. There are a lot. Now, lots and lots of spotted salamanders and wood frogs, but they're not the only amphibians that are breeding here tonight. The Jefferson salamander and the blue spotted salamander are both technically native to Connecticut, but they are way more rare than the spotted salamander. They are virtually extinct in most places, so the odds of finding either one is almost non-existent, but I would very much like to try. Alright. Let's give this waterproof camera a go. This is an adult eastern newt. This guy actually lives in this vernal pool, but they're also very common in ponds and lakes. The ponds and lakes around here, I find them in all the time. But this is the adult form, and what makes a newt different from a salamander is this. They actually have an intermediate form called an eft, which appears orange, and they live out in the forest, on the forest floor. You could find them after it rains, typically. This is video I shot last year of them. This guy will live like this for about 2 years before returning to the ponds and lakes and the vernal pools, and then he'll transform into the guy that you just saw, with the paddle tail and the darker coloration. So that didn't go as well as I'd hoped. I had several objectives here. I wanted to get good footage of them underwater, and I wanted to not disturb them. And I wanted to get out of here in one piece. Unfortunately, I didn't take into account how much the mud would be disturbed. Now we can't see through the water at all because I disturbed it so much. Oh, cool, another newt. Yeah, I saw a newt before, too. Anyway, getting out to the middle, there were like 20 or 30 spotted salamanders in one area, and I wanted to get good footage of them all. But unfortunately, walking through this mud disturbed it so badly that we can't see anything now. So yes, I disturbed them a little bit, and I was not able to get too decent footage. I got some footage. See the guy there right now, under the leaves. But the other problem is getting out of here safely because, well, my leg, this water is about 6 inches deep, but my foot is in water up to my knee because I'm embedded in mud, and it's like suction cupping me down into here. So my next objective will be getting out of the vernal pool safely, and if I could do that, I'm gonna hike about a mile to another vernal pool, see what I could find there. And for the future, for the action camera, I will get a longer selfie stick so that I can get it into the water and hopefully get good footage without disturbing the mud and without disturbing them. So I hiked about a mile to another vernal pool, and there's definitely some spotted salamanders here, although strangely, no wood frogs, and there's not that many spotted salamanders. Oh, I know what that is though. So there's at least a dozen vernal pools on this mountain range. This guy's coming up for air. But these hip waders are kind of hurting my feet. It's hard to find the vernal pools in the dark. So I'm probably gonna head back. That guy's coming up for air now. Still, it was really cool. Now, you see all that white? Kind of. Oh, there is a wood frog. Never mind. I just didn't hear him calling. All that white stuff there. Those are called spermatophores. The male spotted salamanders leave them, and then the females absorb them. Come up for air, going down. Honestly, these guys might be my best bet at underwater footage. I'm gonna give it a go. It's a good thing it's so brightly colored. I might have stepped on it. I'm not even near any the vernal pools I know about. I'm half a mile between. Basically, the two vernal pools I visited tonight, I'm a mile. They're a mile apart, and I'm halfway in between them. He's either on his way to one of those, on his way back from one of those, or on his way to one I don't know about, or back from one I don't know about. But yeah, once they're done breeding, they'll go back into the woods, go back underground, and then they'll be rarely seen again until this time next year. And they'll come back to the same vernal pool every year, the one they were born in, 30 years that they live. And then, so they could have been going to the same vernal pool for thousands of years, potentially, assuming it wasn't disrupted that time. They all have spots in different parts of their back. It's like almost like a fingerprint, just the way their genetics express. It's very cool. See, this one has one spot on top of his head towards the front. So this is that vernal pool that I visited the other night, the first of the two. And as expected, it is full of thousands of eggs, both spotted salamander and wood frog eggs. There's thousands of them. Frogs and salamanders are long gone, back out into the deciduous forest where they live. They won't be back here again until next year, mostly. Spotted salamanders require large, undisturbed areas of forest to thrive. This vernal pool and the others all have a huge buffer of forest where they actually live. They come here to breed. Habitat depletion, habitat fragmentation, use of chemicals, all of those things will wipe them out. There's a thriving population here still. There are still pockets of them all over the state of Connecticut where they can be found. These places need to be protected. The habitat touching them, properties, even private property, should be protected. We should be trying to connect as much forest as possible in this way. They need a lot of space. I want them to still be here 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now. These eggs will hatch in about 30 days. You can see the little black embryos inside the balls of gelatinous goo. The wood frog tadpoles and the salamander larvae will live in this vernal pool for, I think, about 2 months, and then they'll move out into the forest. During the course of my 8-mile hike through Naugatuck State Forest, I found about 8 vernal pools. Keep in mind, these are only the vernal pools that were visible from the trails. There could be 3 or 4 times that many in Naugatuck State Forest. And I found amphibian eggs in every single one. So, Naugatuck State Forest does have a thriving amphibian population. So this guy is a redback salamander. Found him under a piece of bark. They're the most common salamander in Connecticut. You'll find them anywhere. I found one the other day in a small grove of trees between a church and a Dunkin' Donuts. They're the most durable when it comes to like pollution and habitat depletion, because they don't really need a body of water to breed. They actually lay their eggs underneath logs and rocks and other debris, like this piece of bark, making them pretty tough little guys. They're also lungless salamanders. They do not have lungs, so the only way they could breathe is to keep their skin damp, which is why they stay under things like that to absorb oxygen through his skin.